The eye is most sensitive to the colour green, and all its subtle nuances striking the retina in a restless, nervous attempt to render a painterly equivalent beyond what is seen to something felt. Red, like some unifying entity, gesturing across the whole eventful surface, holds together each disparate element. It's a slow process, each brushstroke loaded with the thing it is meant to be, from simple tubes of pigment. But what is it, this urge, that makes me expose my weakness of language, plundering deep into precious resources unassuaged? Questioning with reason the force of my vision until it is purged. Until I paint myself out of the frame and step back, breathe calmly again. The empty canvas, freshly primed, opens like a prison, where all the paintings ever painted and yet to paint begin to stir between the warp and weft of thought, and fan out, aligning themselves to some particular ism. But from that first mark I'm already lost to those petulant lines, stomping across the canvas like escaped ramblers, pursuing well-trodden trails, splashing in pools of colour, triumphant, instead of exploring other lanes, other angles. I'm at the mercy of pigment, squeezed onto palettes from crippled tubes. They quickly lose their primary brilliance, forging an alliance against my will, insisting on being sky or tree, form or content, and distancing me from my real intent. A wide swathe of verdant green fills the scene, broad brushstrokes of viridian. To the left a coppiced wood where a man with a glinting billhook cuts willow withers, while his wife brings him his food. Sheep continue to graze, their slow, deliberate progress unperturbed by a dog bark, chiming in the hot yellow stillness. A shepherd is at rest. Small touches of red, I think, to suggest poppies, perhaps. He ignores his faithful, excitable companion. In a neighbouring field, gleaners are gathering for the harvest. Common enough such views, except it's a scene on the verge of changing, inevitably, inexorably, as the artist is alluding to, in the plume of wood smoke wafting towards the horizon, where the distant hills recede in ever-diminishing blues. The village in the valley when the reservoir came, slowly drowned. Water lapped up steps, topped window sills. Here a trail of abandoned possessions litters the hills. And as it rose, when no street or house remains, cupboards, chairs, and even beds by some desperate will escape through broken windows, We left our doors unlocked and bobbed up to the surface, floated for weeks unclaimed. Note here the artist's attention to detail, framed in a way that seems to suggest the wider displacement of people. Occasionally, when the level is low, one can just see the steeple, and sometimes it is said that on a moonless night it tolls for those who fought the construction. Oil on canvas, private collection. Scraping away the layers of earth's ochre and ore from beneath the level of a long-forgotten field, where primed and primeval origins are concealed on a canvas under layers of palette-knifed impasto. Colour heaped on colour, burying sketched outlines rendered in charcoal dug from an ancient fire pit, and found with shells bearing traces of green, ultramarine and gold, mined from precious seams. My brush reveals such details from among the debris. Then, lifting from the palette the unearthed fragments and assembling them in situ, it seems that I touch upon a latent sense of lineage, that my painterly marks, like pottery shards, have a similar potential to awe. What else besides in such a featureless field? Some scattered remains randomly arranged. Objects is found in every home, painted in detail, lying there in the long grass towards that mound. Each blade painstakingly rendered with a triple O sable. That work shirt, so convincingly stained. Shoelaces still knotted, and those twisted glasses trampled into the path, running out of the frame. Once that way led from the house to the stable. The last time I saw it, it was wreathed in flames. We fled into our shadows, wearing nothing but the clothes we crouched down in. Nothing, I suppose, remains of our lives. Nothing else besides those hastily dug graves. Grass and pollen stain my fingers and colour my arm. How often I've wandered across this thin veneer of skin, marvelling at each shapely gesture within each turn. I arch my hand, and it becomes a hill, then knuckles like rocky outcrops or a mountain range. The quick of my thumb rises like a sliver of silver moon, and sets behind a clump of trees, sinking into a stretch of still water. A lake held in my upturned palm. The shallow surface ruffles until suddenly, head spinning, a fissure cracks open and the valley collapses, becoming deeper, darker. Entangled and gripped by primordial undergrowth, I rip through the foliage, suffocating that first inspirational thought. When my fingers relax, they unfurl like ferns. I reach for my brushes, but clutch only straws.